Good afternoon, students. So, welcome back to our online session of digital signal processing and application class. In today's sessions, we are going to discuss the concepts related to the processor. Okay, that we are going to see. So, let us proceed with the topics. What we are learning in today's sessions. We are going to learn about the processor, how the processor is being used, and what are the addressing mode of processor is there, and how it is going to work, and how the processor is going to functionality. What are the functions of processor is there? That is also we're going to cover. Clear? So, this is our digital signal processing and application. So see here, the basic what is a processor is all about. If you see microprocessor or microcontroller, or if you want to see the cost and the performance, always the application specific architecture for performance, if you want to design, that is considered to be the digital signal processor. Okay, so here we are having different types of processors. It can be used for the software as well as it can be used for the hardware. If it is for the software, this is what performance is everything, and software rules is going to be take for microprocessor. For the microcontroller, it is a card is everything for that, and the embedded system is used for a specific part of it. Clear? That is about the part. Now what is a processor application, student? So it can have general purpose application, it can have embedded processors, it can have microcontrollers. So general purpose is used for high performance, and it is what alpha space micro instruction package system is there, and used for general purpose software, and it also used for heavyweight, whatever the heavyweights we do have for that particular application also is going to be take, and such as OS operating system, Unix, NT, these are the different heavyweight systems we do have for that also. We are going to use a specific processor that is called as general purpose processors. Clear? So here we do have heavyweight, so that's what we have just want to say. That's the reason we are mentioning that. Next one, workstation PCs. For the workstations also we are using a processor. Next one, embedded processor and processor code. How it's going to be used for that? So they are different in embedded systems. ARM processor is there, 486 X6 series is there, Hitachi S7 H7000 NECV version of 800. These are the different types of processors we are using in embedded system. Is often used for what it requires. Actually it's require the digital signal processor DSP supports so as to process that. That's what we just want to see, the application of digital signal processor where actually it will be used. Next part is regarding the signal program. It is also used for performing the signal program. It is a lightweight, often real-time operating systems. But the lightweight and operating system also is going to work on it. And it is also used for cellular phones, consumer electronics, example like CD player and everything. It is also going to be used for that as well. Clear? Next is regarding the microcontroller. So what is a microcontroller is all about, students? So it's a extremely cost sensitive. It is going to use for the particular cost, and a small word size. It can take 8-bit common. It also going to perform for that particular application, and high volume processor by far. So it is also used for the highest volume as well. That is a microcontroller. And the automobile toaster and thermostat it will be used. So these are the different types of what we have. We have a processor. As you can see, it's what is increasing. If increasing the cost, then obviously the purpose of application will be increased. If you're increasing the volume, that needs to go with the microcontroller. If you want increasing the cost, and if you want to see the performance, multi performance for one particular part of it, then we can go ahead with that. Which kind of processors we can go ahead with the general purpose. That's what the arrow mark I have mentioned upper side. This is the arrow mark down side. Clear? Next, what are the requirements for any kind of processor? We talk about the embedded processor. It is used for optimized for single program code, often in one chip. Let me see this diagram. How the processor has been started, then I'll explain you the previous. See here, these are the different types of processor that just come into picture. Starting from Intel 386. This is what my Motorola CPU32 Plus. This is also being used, and another type of processor is LSI R3000. That is also type of processor. Like that we keep on using the different types of processors in our application part. Clear? So in our DSP processor, what are the things we are going to use, students? It's the fifth unit. So in this first thing what we are going to learn is requirements of DSP processor, microprocessor architecture. We are going to see internal architecture and features of ADSP, family of processor, instruction set and development tool of ADSP, 21 series of DP, means dual in package. Application of processor. So what are the application, students? We have learned in the first session of our class that it is used for speech recognition, sound processing, echo cancellation, vibration analysis, image processing, and linear prediction of speech synthesis. So the most important part is about the speech recognition as well. whenever some sort of volume we do have, and we just see the speech of that person, that is also vary from one person to other person. How it is going to be recognized? What are the things? What are the parameters we need to use it? So we are using the digital signal processor in order to recognize that and in order to find out that application for it. That's the reason we are saying that it is used for the speech recognition as well. Then we do have a sound processing, we have echo cancellation, vibration analysis, image processing as well. In image, basically it is used to use in the pixels, because our image will be used in terms of pixel only. It's a unit of the one software box of the image, that is called as pixel, right? That is also we're going to see. So these are the application of our processor, students. So these are the things we have to see, that application of it. Clear? The next part, starting from the starting, we are going with the requirement of DSP processor, because DSP processor completely we are using the mathematical form now. The most important part what we need to understand in DSP processor is about the output. How do we get this output? For fundamental mathematical operation in digital signal processor is sum of product, also called as dot of products. So we can say sum of product as well as the dot of product in order to find the output for it. So that's what it is called as requirement of DSP processor. How do we get the operation for it? This operation is mostly used in digital filters. Wherever we wanted to see the DFT, we have seen DFT problems now. Digital Fourier transform, discrete Fourier transform, fast Fourier transform, by using butterfly diagrams for n is equals to 8 point, n is equals to 4 point, n is equals to 2 points, and many other DSP applications. This has been used. A DSP is optimized to perform repetitive mathematical operations such as dot products. There are 5 basic requirements of DSP processor to optimize the performance. They are, what are the methods we do have? First, fast arithmetic and extended precision, fast execution, that is called as what? Dual operand fetch. Then they will be having fast data exchange. They're the things what our DSP processor is going to be do, right? Then fast data exchange is also going to perform. Likewise, we do have the fast operation, and then circular buffering, that is also going to be taken care by the DSP processors. These are the different application we do have, students, that our DSP processor is going to be used. The first, let's see what is the fast arithmetic. So basically, what is the fast arithmetic? In this, the fast MAC means higher bandwidth. If you're using multiple access cumulative, if you want to see that one, it is able to support general purpose MAC functions such as ALU, as and a programmable shifter functions for bit manipulation. You're going to see in the details about it in your microprocessor classes, how we are going to perform the bit manipulation. That means how we shift left, right, how do we find one's complement, two's complement, how do we going to perform any kind of operation to our bits. Clear? So that is also going to done by our bit processor. So these are the thing what our bit processor is going to perform. So these are the fast arithmetic operations. Likewise, if you want to see the extended precisions, how do we going to perform the extended precision? For getting that one, first thing is that its requirement. How much is the requirement is there for that processor? It's going to perform based upon that. So if you see precision means, obviously it should be very precise to the values whatever exactly we are getting. That is called as precision. So here is the requirement for extended precisions in the accumulator, because in our processor we do have registers. In the registers, accumulator is the one who can store the result. That means whatever the rest of the part is there, it is not going to perform it, but only the accumulator is the one who can able to restore that particular value. It also have a high degree of overflow protection, means it is going to protect our data as well. That is also the capacity of our extended precision operation of that particular processor. Next thing, fast execution. How do we get the fast execution? First thing is that it should have a parallel execution that is required in the place of sequential part. Then there should be instructions that are executed in a single cycle. That means whatever the instruction we are giving, it should also perform in a single cycle only. There should not be a multiple cycles, or they should not use all the answer in a different way. So that should be the first point, that whatever parallel execution is required in the place of sequential, that should be there. And then instructions are executed in a single cycle of clock, call it as true instructions. If suppose the answer I'm getting in a single cycle, then what is the instruction I'm just considering this as instructions are true instructions, and cycles are opposed to multiply clock cycles. Means whatever the cycles are there, it is all going to use the opposite direction to use the multiple cycle clock. That means it not use any kind of multiple cycle clock. It only perform the answer and whatever the instructions we do have, that is in a single cycle mode. Clear? So that's how this is the point mentioned over here. Next part is about the multiple operands are fetched simultaneously for multi-processing ability and for queue and pipelining facility. For both these kind of facilities, it is also going to perform that particular instructions as well. Next thing is regarding address generation by DAGs and program sequencer. We do have DAGs, we'll come to know about it when we are going to get that point, but as of now you remember that whatever address generation is there, because whatever data we are going to store, it will be stored in a particular memory location. So what is that particular memory location is all about? That is called as address. Address means there should be a specific location where our data is being stored, right? So that's our address we do have. So how the addressing can be done, what are the way we can send the data, that we are going to learn in addressing mode of our digital signal processor. Clear? Next thing, fast data exchange. Whatever data we are going to exchange it, that is also in a very faster way. So that's what this point is mentioned here. Mentioned here that is multiple registers are used for separate programs and data memory, and multi-operand fetch capacity is also going to be occurred. So these are the things that is used for fast data exchange as well. Next part is regarding the fast operations. How do we obtain the fast operations, students? Here we are using a program and data memory that are on chip memory and extendable off chip as well. That means whatever the operations you are going to perform on program and data, that is on chip or off chip, there should not be any multiplexing is used. That means there should be a separate address will be there and data and control buses will be there. There should not be a misalign or mixing of all the things, because multiplexing means we use different kind of input combination, we are going to get the output based on that. But here that kind of operations we are not going to use. Only program and data whatever we are using, that should use on chip or off chip, that should also have a extendable program and data. Clear? Next thing, how it is going to perform the instructions. So there is a point mentioned here is powerful instruction set and various addressing modes are used for performing that. And the last part, what we just said, it is called circular shift operations. What are the circular shift operations? It is for circular buffers. What all the buffers you are going to use it, based on that particular buffer only, your circular shift operation is going to obtain that particular answer for it. Therefore, it is mentioned here, it is going to perform the circular buffers as well, it's going to perform that answer. Clear? So these are the things what we have discussed. Now let us move ahead with the architecture. Means what are the architecture is there, means how blocks can be used, what are the designing part of it, how the DSP architecture, DSP processor architecture will be look like. So first thing, we should know what are the types of architectures are there in the market. First is Von Neumann architecture, Harvard architecture, analog device modified Harvard architecture. These are the three architectures which are available for our microprocessor for DSP. So first thing, we are going with the Von Neumann architecture. So basically, let's see the diagram for it. So see here, it's a diagram for that particular thing. What we are going to see here, what are the things we are using? We are using a CPU. What is the use of CPU? Central processing unit. Clear? Here also we do have CPU, central processing unit, and here also CPU. Clear? So what is the microprocessor is doing over here? It is taking a memory and data instructions from this end, from A bus, from B bus, from C bus. There are three buses, One is for Neumann, another is for Harvard, and third is for ADI modified Harvard. Means analog device. Just now we will learn. No, there are three types of it. Analog device modified Harvard architecture, ADI. Clear? So first, for Neumann, what are the things we are going to use? That also we are going to cover it. So what are the things we are going to use for Neumann? We are using, for the first part, a memory and data instructions. It is a single bidirectional data bus also there, where it can work as a data bus as well as address bus. But for locating that one, we only had a single line, that is what address bus. So see the theory for that. First thing we said, it is a general purpose microprocessor used in the Neumann architecture, named after the American mathematician John von Neumann, because he is the one who has discovered that. That's the reason, by the name of that mathematician, this architecture has been designed. Next thing, it consists of ALUs. It consists of arithmetic and logical units. It also have an accumulator. It also have input output devices and the common address and data bus. It also consists of single memory which contain data and instructions both. For data as well as for instructions, if you want to see both the things, it's going to work on it, right? So it also have that one. It also consists of a single memory which contain data and instructions, and single bus for transferring data and instructions into and out of the CPU, from inside the CPU and from out of the CPU. If you want to see that one, it is going to work on that basis. Clear? Second thing, it is used to multiply two numbers which require at least 3 cycles. So for multiplication, how many cycles we are requiring? It's required 3 cycles. 2 cycles are required for transfer the two numbers into the CPU, and 1 cycle is used to transfer the instructions on that. That means that is for getting the output answer and it's getting passed to the input. 3 cycles means one is for first opcode, another is for operand. If you multiply that, if you use the two numbers, and if you want to store the result, that is the third cycle is used for performing these all kind of operations. So this architecture is going to perform a good performing in which criteria, in which situation, in all the required tasks that execute serially. And it is only used for serial kind of application. Clear? That's what here mentioned. This architecture is giving good performance when all the required tasks can be done serially. That means in a one direction only. There should not be a parallel processing. That at a time you cannot do multitasking for this. Clear? That is the function of von Neumann architecture. Next, we do have the next point for this is it is for large processing application like DSP application in von Neumann architecture is not suitable for processing speed is less. Why it is not suitable for processing speeds? Because the speed is less. Processing speed can be increased by pipelining. What is a pipeline concept, students? It is called fetching, decoding, and executing. What is a fetch? So we just want to give the input to the value, like I want to add a plus b is equals to c. That means I should give the value of a, then give the value of b, right? Then only a plus b can going to perform a and b can take the value and then it's going to perform the addition. The same way, what exactly I'm telling over here, I want to use a pipelining concept. That is what a concept in which the data can be passed to that and it will be going to use it a pipelining concept that is called fetching, decoding, and executing. In between these 3-stage pipelining, there are different 5 stages, 7 stages also there. That will be there in the ARM processor. That is not a part of our discussion. Our main discussion is that in order to understand this kind of processor, we have to make use of pipelining concept in order to increase the speed. That's the disadvantage of our non von Neumann processor. So how to overcome from there? We have to use what we have to use. We have to use a pipelining concept. In order to use the pipelining concept, then only we can able to perform. We can able to increase the performance of the system. Clear? So this is the one we have discussed. Next, Howard. In Howard, what are the things we are going to see? In Howard, we are going to see a program memory instructions that is only will be used, and here also data memory is data used. Here, program memory instructions will be used here. Data means obviously data will be going to use for that. And we are using a CPU. In CPU, what we are going to see as you can see here, no, it's a program memory data bus. This is data memory data bus. Clear? Data memory means obviously it's going to store the data. Program memory means whatever the instructions we are giving, that coding will be stored over there. It's a bidirectional, both the buses, PM data bus and DM data bus, both are bidirectional. What about PM address bus? It's a unidirectional, means only single directional. Whatever the data we are going to perform the instructions, those instructions will be going to store at that particular location only. So that's the word it's mentioned, it's a unidirectional bus. Similarly, for other end, data memory address bus also going to be used. It's going to perform the addresses. It's going to locate the addresses in particular memory so that whatever the data we are going to perform, whatever the instructions we are going to perform, their results needs to be stored at one particular location, right? So that location can be used for our what data memory address bus. Clear? That is the one which we are going to see for Howard. Clear? what is the difference between Havard and Von Neumann? In Havard, we have the what? We have the program memory instruction at one end, data memory instruction at another end. That's the difference between your Von Neumann to the Havard. And next is ADI modified Havard. How do the ADI is going to be used and how it's going to modify that? What are the things it's going to depend on it? Those things also we need to remember while we are trying to transfer that into one location to another one. Clear? So that's what ADI is also have one more extra thing that is called instruction cache. That is a virtual memory. Virtual instructions that we are going to use for ADI modified Havard. Havard only it is, but it's going to be modified that. What are the things ADI stands for? Already I have said, right? What is ADI stands for? The types of things we have learned, no? First thing, Von Neumann. That is one of the things which we are using for the single and the serial kind of transformation, and Havard architecture is used for taking the program memory at one end and data memory at another end, and ADI stands for analog device modified. Analog device modification, this will be used. So as you can see here, this has two things. One is for program memory instruction only, another is program memory instruction and data. For both the ends, it's going to perform the instructions and it's going to use that ADI for that. Similarly for here, so you're going to use for data memory, right? For data passing on that particular instruction is going to perform it, and we do have a CPU over here. What is the CPU functionality? It is going to perform it by using that data memory and instruction memory. We can able to use it. Next thing, what is the next part we do have? We had a cache, right? So what is the use of the cache? It is going to take the instructions into consideration. Then only it's going to perform that particular task for it. Similarly, we just want to see the part of a definition for it. How do we define that and what are the things it's going to depends on it? So first thing, we do have a data and program instructions for Havard, as the name for the work done at the Havard University has been done. That's the reason this is called as Havard architecture. Here what is the things they have discovered? They have discovered about the data and program instruction at each end part of it. And this, what is the first point we are saying, students? In this we are saying that the data and program instructions each have separate memories and buses as shown in the figure that we have seen in the figure, right? For data and the buses, they are different. And buses for program memory and data memory address, and the data buses for data memory. Next point, what we said, since the buses operates independently, whatever the buses is there, that is going to operate independently, the program instructions and data can be fetched at the same time. Whatever the program instruction is there and data instruction is there, that can be fetched at the same time. Therefore, improving the speed over the single bus Von Neumann design is being used. Same thing, what I just now said, the same point is repeating here. So they are having a separate buses independently. That's what they can able to use a fetching. As I already said, right? Fetching, decoding, and executing. That's come under the pipelining concept. Next, third point, what it says that in order to perform a single FIR instructions, that is FIR filtering, we are going to use multiply accumulate. Means that is one of the method, the MAC. Multiply accumulate, an instruction is fetched from the program memory, and during the same cycle there is another coefficient can be fetched from the data memory. Means first thing will be fetched while suppose you are standing in a queue in any kind of line. If you stand in a queue, what will happen? The first part, you will all are want to go inside somewhere. Suppose for example you are standing in front of a fees counter, you want to pay any kind of amount, or when you are going for the bank line or somewhere, in which the first person who's there at the first end of the counter, he'll be going first, right? When he'll go first, when he'll go inside, that is called first person is fetched. What about the other person? He will wait until unless the process of the first person will be done. Like in any kind of lining, in any kind of queue, whoever go first in will come out first. But this is not the one case. First, when he's go inside, the other person wait to finish all his work, all his tasks. When he'll come out of it, the other person start going inside. That means what happened? The first person is fetching while other person is waiting outside. When first person is decoded, means his information is over, then other person is going inside. That's what it is mentioned. In order to perform a single FIR filter multiply accumulate, an instruction is fetched from the program. First it will taking from the program. At the same time, what will happen? A coefficient can be fetched from the data memory as well. From the data memory also, a second cycle is required to fetch the data from work from the data memory. That is also going to happen for the same issue. So this is what actually it is nothing but the fetch and decode. Likewise, execute means both all are taken out in a queue, they have stand, their work has been done, and they reach out to their home. That means everything was done in a perfect manner, right? That is what actually get executed. So these are the things that we need to understand how the fetching can be done. Next point is about analog. Analog device modified Harvard. Only the Harvard architecture, whatever we do have, we are going to modify that. How we are going to modify it? By using the same instructions. Here we said that in this architecture, the program data are followed in the program memory, and it is going for what? For the program from the program memory, it's going for the data from data memory. For example, they said in a case of digital filters, coefficients are stored in a program memory and data samples are in the data memory. The coefficient and data samples can be fetched in a single cycle. At the same time, instruction is also fetched from the program memory. That is also going to occur. But what is the extra thing we do have in this? That is the cache. So see here what is the cache is saying over here. The second point, it says that analog device modified architecture can handle two ways. One way is for taking the program memory which is accessed and twice in an instruction cycle. As in the case of there is one more architecture we do have, ADSP, analog digital signal processor. There are two types of processor we have now. One is analog and another is digital. The same thing it is going to take, and the DSP caches are in the cache memory when the next time instructions is called, the program sequence obtained from the cache. Means suppose once instruction is been obtained, there is another instruction is also the same one is going to take place. Like for example, as I said an example of queue, right? When one person is standing in a queue, he want to do two works. That means he want to perform two tasks instead of one task. He just want to went to the bank to take a deposit, and he went to the bank to update it. And at the same time, he can do this in the same line. He has to stand and he will do that, right? That is what actually the example of cache. He says that the DSP cache, the instruction is the cache memory when the next time the instruction is called. The program sequence obtained from the cache, that is also going to obtain in the same sequence. Next thing, how the forward architecture is being designed. What are the things is going to depends. As you can see, based upon this part, we had a processor core, address bus, data bus, and memory, right? So what will happen? The Harvard architecture common used to many DSP processor. The processor can simultaneously access two memories. Memory blanks we do have with two independent set of buses allows for the operands to be loaded while fetching instructions. That is also going to take place, and there is only one data bus. Operands cannot be loaded while instructions are fetches. Operands cannot be loaded in the same direction that the instruction is going to fetch for that. That is also one thing that we need to keep in our mind when we are discussing about this kind of answers. So as you can see here, these are two kind of thing, right? One is for processor. We do have a processor. It is for one kind of cycle. This is one address, another address, and one address and one data and the memory. This is what one way. When you modify that, you have the one processor. Here, what will happen to this processor? This processor is going to take the address. It's going to perform from the one address bus to data bus, and it's going to perform that particular task for it. But here, what we said, it has two addresses. No, one whatever the data we are passing with the data bus 1, that will be passed to the memory address A. Similarly, we do have next address bus 2 that is used for next memory address B. When we do have this kind of thing, when we try to find the multitasking for that, that could be done by using this particular architecture for the processor core, for single way, for the two buses as well. So that's what it's a cache will be used in this particular analysis. Clear? So these are the complete thing what we have discussed about your Harvard, von Neumann and ADI modified Harvard architecture, that is analog device system of that Harvard architecture that also we have covered. Next thing we are going to proceed with the next part of it, that is what their buses architecture that we are going to see. Just a second, we are going to proceed with the main part of it, how it's going to use for this part. Before that, we just want to see the addressing mode, right? Because addressing mode is the one who can help you with the analysis as well, the linkers and file, how we're going to debug and simulate all those things. So let's see that part first, then I'll be going to go ahead with the same. So here we do have that particular part. We're going to see all those things, and we're going to done with the session of today class. Okay, this is our unit 5th
we have started, and try to write the theoretical notes. It's completely unit 5 is regarding the theory only. Okay, thank you.